Home court disadvantage. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Monday, May 20th, 2024. And if you've come here to get all Knicks all the time, go to the other shows. That's not what we're going to do, but we are going to talk about what happened yesterday. There's no way that a team can shoot 74% for a game. 74%, you're hitting 3 out of 4 shots. Doesn't happen. I'm at the Knicks game last night, yesterday afternoon, watching Game 7, thinking to myself at halftime, down 15, we got this. You're getting a beer. I don't drink beer. You're getting a drink, water, some candy, some M&Ms. I had a lot of M&Ms during the game. Some high chews as well, and some packaged lifesavers. Down 15, no problem. Knicks are shooting 45%, Pacers 74%. We're going to win. Third quarter starts. Pacers miss a few shots. Knicks are back in the game. Crowd going crazy. Spike Lee, despondent in the first row, all of a sudden is standing up and waving his towel, pacing up and down Celebrity Row, blocking Ben Stiller. And then the Pacers just kept hitting shots. Resignation is what happens with about 8 minutes left, and you realize that the Pacers simply don't miss. They're not going to miss. And where the hell is Jalen Brunson? Side note, Coca, excuse me, but I am tired. I went as a fan yesterday, and I am furious. 19,810 people at the world's most famous arena, at the Mecca, at the greatest arena in the world, bar none. There is no doubt. And we don't know what happened to Jalen Brunson. You're sitting around people. There's misery. There's company. You're talking to everyone. Look at me, Louis. Zach Braff, the actor, was sitting 5 feet from me. Hey, he just went to the bathroom. Well, why? Well, he had to go to the bathroom? Players have to go to the bathroom. It happens during the game. It doesn't happen often, but it definitely happens. When you build a ballpark, you have to put a toilet right behind the dugout. 2 seconds so they don't have to schlep all the way to the clubhouse. Jalen Brunson comes back in the game, all good. Then he's gone again. OG starts the game, disappears. The amount of communication, 0 to the people in attendance. The Knicks announced between the third and fourth period, so I've come to find out later, that Brunson fractured his hand, out for the rest of the game. Would it kill you to tell the people at the game? Oh, but you've got your phone. Get on your phone. Cell service, not great. So he didn't have to go to the bathroom. He got hurt. The Knicks were so undermanned, but that's not the story. The story is that what I thought was going to happen did not happen. Adam Silver's watching that game. DBR, despondent beyond repair. The Knicks play an entire regular season, finish with the 2 seed, have home court advantage for the purpose of having a Game 7 at home. They are the shadow of the team they expected to be, given all the starters to all their injuries. And there was nothing Adam Silver could do. I was thinking about, can the refs influence this game? Because we know the NBA needed the Knicks. We know ESPN. We know Turner, Disney. They all needed the Knicks to advance. Nothing they could do. That's the thing when I say that there's league involvement in results. Some of you on X or some of you on Instagram or whenever you see me, Coca, you have a big fan. Side note, went to a small restaurant on Saturday night, and someone in the restaurant who I didn't know was just a fan of the show, the fan of Le Batard Show, and a fan of yours. That was very fun to see. I like that. We're spreading our wings here at Nothing Personal. As a matter of fact, you're listening now. Good to see you. So there's nothing Adam Silver can do if a team is going to perform the way the Pacers did. There is simply nothing to be done. There were no calls. The 50-50 calls go the Knicks' way. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's legitimate. I'm perfectly fine with all of the pregame shows focusing on nothing but the Knicks. I'm perfectly fine with all the post-game shows focusing on the Knicks. Of course, Coca pointed out to me correctly in our pregame that nobody's watching the post-game shows who's a fan of the Knicks. It's only Pacers fans watching the post-game, so you might as well talk a little Pacers. Nah, it's your last minute talking about the Knicks before you have to only talk about Pacers Celtics for 2 weeks in the Eastern Conference Finals. The letdown of the Celtics was palpable. Don't think they would want to play the Pacers. It's more exciting to beat the Knicks than it is to beat the Pacers on your way to the finals. They'll publicly say that they respect the Pacers. What an opponent, very difficult. But no, you want to beat New York when you're Boston. There's not even a question. But nothing the referees could do, nothing Adam Silver could do, except watch helplessly as the Pacers did something that's never been done in the history of the NBA playoffs. I don't mean this year, any year. The Showtime Lakers, Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, Red Auerbach, Red Holzman, never 67% from the field. I've never seen anything like it. It was awe-inspiring. You tip your cap and you move on and you assume that the Denver Nuggets are going to win game 2. Because there's no way home teams are going to lose 2 game 7s. It's never happened in NBA history when there's multiple game 7s that the road teams have won both. It's the easiest bet you could make. Nuggets on the money line. I don't care what you have to lay. The Nuggets are going to win. Started the series down 2-0. They clunked in game 6. They got their ass kicked in game 6. Scored 70 points. The T-Wolves were stifling. A-Rod puts on his best suit, flies to the Mile High City. The Nuggets are up 20, and it's going exactly as planned. The NBA will get the Nuggets. They'll get the Nuggets against the Mavs, which we'll talk about in a minute. They'll get the Celtics against the Pacers. Everything's fine. And then that was it. Denver looked exhausted. It looked like they were playing at altitude for the first time. Jokic looked as though he had run out of gas. The entire Denver team looked gassed, and the Wolves looked young, athletic. The Wolves were just better. 20-point leads in the NBA used to mean something. They don't mean Sasquatch anymore. Don't even get excited when your team is up or down 20 points in the first half. The T-Wolves come back and win 98-90. Jokic puts his mouthpiece in his socks with 50 seconds to go while Murray's still fouling, leading to the final of 98-90. Jokic, ever the gentleman after the series, acknowledged that the Wolves are good. The Wolves were built to beat the Nuggets, and the Wolves beat the Nuggets. We'll see you next year. He's already home. Michael Malone, not as forgiving. A-Rod applauding. They only showed A-Rod during the game. They didn't even show Glenn Taylor, the owner. Pablo Torre has to be so happy. I forgot to text him from his Pablo Torre Finds Out show when he did that whole thing about the Glenn Taylor A-Rod saga that we've been covering, nothing personal, for 2 months. The NBA now has to deal with two more weeks of the T-Wolves. I can't wait. I think I'm rooting for chaos. Root for the T-Wolves to win the championship. So Adam Silver has to deliver the trophy to Glenn Taylor while A-Rod is kept out of the locker room the way we kept limited partners out of the World Series winning clubhouse in 2003. Nope, not invited in there. Hey, we're owners of the team. No, you're limited partners. A-Rod, let me in. The thought of A-Rod. Hey, let me slip you a $5. Let me in there. I want to celebrate with my guys. If I'm A-Rod and the T-Wolves win, I think I'm going to rent a different room within the facility, like a party suite. If it's in, who would have home court? Minnesota Celtics. I assume Celtics would. So if it goes to game 7, you talk to the Celtics and try to rent a party room and tell all the players, choose now, me or Glenn. I'm doing a champagne spraying, goggles on celebration. And then you've got half the players with A-Rod, half the players with Glenn Taylor. Anyway, I digress. So the T-Wolves end up beating the Nuggets. 2 road teams win. And of course, my brain went to one thing. I always go to the Adam Silver brain. What are you doing now, Adam? We're negotiating TV deals. We're getting a lot of money from a lot of people. We're going to announce NBC. It has the third package. Everything's great. We like the 65-game rule, make players play, load management. I'm sorry, LeBron and everyone else who criticizes it. I'd be way more concerned what happened to home court advantage. As the GM of a team or the president of a team, the reason I want home court advantage is I want more home games because I get more revenue. It used to be that I wanted home court advantage because you want to win the games, but now it doesn't matter. You're only doing it for the money, and it's hard to tell the players, hey, please play a little harder. We'd like home court advantage. We'd like a better seed. Let's go out there and do it. You can tell your coach to do it. Hey, play our guys 40 minutes, 41 minutes, because we're trying to get the extra home game. As you know, if you're a season ticket holder, every team can charge for 4 home games in a series, even when you don't have the home court advantage, because when the season is ending and the playoffs are starting, you don't know whether you're going to have home court advantage. So therefore, you charge for the maximum number of games and then work on refunds later. But in terms of competitive advantage, you should have a 75% chance. Not anymore. Not anymore. I saw Commissioner Manfred at the game yesterday. Said hello to him. Hadn't seen him in a couple years. It's fun going back to Knicks games. I hadn't been in a very long time. Seems like a good place to be on a Sunday at 3:30. You feel like you're going to see a victory and see the Knicks advance to play the Celtics. My job is to communicate. Let me try one more time in a very clear way. Can you believe that the Pacers shot 67%? I don't think I'm ever going to forget that. The last game 7, I was younger, but still there, 27 years old. It was Knicks Pacers. Ewing, a finger roll off the back rim, missed. Pacers beat the Knicks. I felt way differently then. I was a way bigger fan. But leaving the arena yesterday, I just was thinking, I don't know what I would do differently. I pretended I was an executive. What is it that you do to the Knicks team? Get Jalen Brunson another superstar. You can't coach or executive against anomalies. Last afternoon, I was going to say last night, but it was an afternoon game. Last afternoon was an anomaly. What the Pacers did, it's a hat tip. When you see your owner after a game and you've lost because the pitcher just shoved it, all his pitches were working, everything just, you look like you have no energy because you're not hitting, but it doesn't mean that. It means the pitcher's good. Sometimes you just tell your owner, we got beaten, not by a better team. We just lost. Bad timing. Mets fans may not be able to dismiss Tom Glavine's first inning, if you know, you know, when they were trying to make the playoffs back in 07 or 08. Mets stink, fires somebody. Just a bad day. That's what Knicks Pacers was. All right, let's talk about the Mavs for a second. The Mavs beat the Thunder. We lost that bet. We had a nothing personal pick of the day. We'll get to that later in the show, of the Thunder winning the title. It was plus 850. That's a loss since they're not going to win the title. The Mavericks found a way to advance to the Western Conference Finals. And for whatever reason, the television choices always, they were cutting to Mark Cuban still sitting in his seat by the bench, further perpetuating the incorrect notion that he owns the team and is running the basketball operation. He doesn't own the team. He's not the league governor. He's not running the basketball organization. And the fact that cameras still think he is, or he still thinks he is, makes me laugh. And the irony of the Mavs, which I am rooting for the Mavs to win the title. Wait a minute. I was rooting for the T-Wolves to win the title 5 minutes ago. All right. I guess now I'm rooting for the Western Conference because there's no way I want the Celtics to win, obviously. As a New Yorker, you cannot root for a Boston team under any circumstance ever. I don't care what kind of great story is, except in 2013, I was rooting for the Red Sox. Different story. Marathon. You know what I mean. I lost to Coca. Sorry, 15 minutes in. It's a Monday. Where were we? Mavs. Thank you. So the Mavs getting to the Western Conference Finals, all the cutaways to Cuban, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the theme that you heard is the Thunder weren't ready. This was a great step forward. You have to lose before you win. It's the biggest crock of horse hockey that is ever said by pregame shows and any analysts out there. Inside a club locker room or a clubhouse, when you've got a team that's playing well or a team that has a chance to make a playoff run, it never comes up when the front office is sitting and talking about different strategies or different things going on with the team, which you do for hours. It never comes up, hey, this year we're going to go to this level. Next year we will be able to go to another level. This is part of our progression. It doesn't exist. The T-Wolves, their view is they're ready to win the title right now. Think about the Diamondbacks in last year's baseball. Oh, what a surprise. No, you won the pennant. It's not a surprise. The Mavericks with Luka and Irving are trying to now advance to the NBA Finals. The Mavericks having a run, their first since Dirk. It's fun to see Dirk. Can we go back one thing to the Knicks? Sorry. This is the last time I get to talk about the Knicks. What is it to be a legend of a team? We had this discussion. I'd like to bring in Sarah and Coca to see if you can give me your opinion of this. When we bring back Marlins alums, we would call them alums, but we were very careful to throw around legends because our view of it is that if you were a relief pitcher or Michael Tejera, love you, Michael, of course I do, or some sort of marginal player on a World Series winning team, and you were on the team for 2 years or 1 year, are you a legend? The Knicks showed during the game all the celebrities. Great article in Front Office Sports about how they choose where to sit the celebrities, who pays, who doesn't, when they're put on camera, what their obligation is if they're going to get good seats, that they've got to be on camera. They've got to record social media stuff. It's a whole thing. It's a funny article, and it's totally true. My view is we had a lot of celebrities who wanted to go to Marlins games because there were a lot of celebrities in Miami doing stuff. And I always had the final say. It always came to my desk, and it would come from the VP of marketing. Hey, what do you think of this person? I don't like him that much. Sit him in section 169. Oh, that person's going right next to the dugouts. So every team has a system. Some systems are more scientific than others. And so they put up pictures of Knick players. Is Marcus Camby a Knick legend? I'm a Knick guy through and through. Latrell Sprewell? Larry Johnson? Larry Johnson had one of the great 4-point plays, one of the great playoff runs, one of the great moments. But does doing and having a moment make you a legend? Not for me. What a weekend in baseball. We're going to talk way more about basketball, but I got to get to baseball right now because a couple things happened that if you're not watching baseball because it's just regular season, I want to make it so you're at least conversational in a few things. And I want to start with a pitcher that I don't believe you're talking about. He is the best performing Japanese player in baseball today. Don't put Shohei Ohtani's name on the board. Don't you do it. I will not tell you that a game-winning hit, a leading the league and close to leading the league in home runs and slugging. No, I will not tell you that a DH is that. Give me a starting pitcher. We covered him, the Cubs pitcher. We did a segment on Imanaga. Do you know he has an ERA of 0.84? That's below 1. It's the lowest in a pitcher's first 9 career starts in history. He's a rookie. He's a mid-range starter. and he is off to the greatest start ever for a guy just starting his career. We had some great rookies. Dontrell, Jose, that whole 06 rotation, other than Dontrell in that rotation. Go watch the Cubs and watch this guy. Yu Darvish is second. He's gone 4 straight starts scoreless, I believe. But what I need to mention here about this is that in a sport where you've got a face, am I saying his name wrong? Imanaga. I do this before every show. We practice. Coca spells it out for me. I have a weird thing when you're live and you don't have anyone telling you stuff that I just picture names differently and hear them differently. It's a definite issue. I'm sorry, Coco. I really am. So when you've got a player who's having a start like that on a team that should be getting more attention, the Cubs are off to a good start. They're fighting with the Brewers in the Central Division, leading the Central Division in a division where the Cardinals have a problem. Why does he not get the amount of attention that Shohei has? Money? Because he didn't make $700 million as a free agent? Should he be getting more attention than Yamamoto in LA? He ought to be. Yamamoto's pitched great since Korea. But Imanaga, there's nothing like it. Ever. So the next time he starts, give him his due. The second thing that happened this weekend that caught my fancy was Edwin Diaz and the New York Mets. I believe, Coca, that Steve Cohn was at the game last night. I think he was at the Knicks game while the Mets were beating the Marlins. The Mets avoided the sweep. The Marlins starters have been terrific. But what I was focused on was Edwin Diaz. When you sign a player to the type of free agent contract that Edwin Diaz signed for, that pitcher then gets hurt for a year celebrating the WBC victory, comes back and is completely ineffective. What do? How long do you give a player before you demote them? And what you've heard me discuss is how important body language is. If players at the plate start throwing their helmet when they normally have a calm demeanor, if they go about their business in the same way, these are indicators of how you deal with the player. When you're going to move a player up or down the lineup, depending on how they're hitting, you talk to the coaching staff, you make a decision, and then you tell the player. If a player is used to hitting second and you're going to move the player, you don't have the player walk in and look at the lineup and all of a sudden he's hitting seventh. You speak to the player, you communicate. Some conversations are more difficult than others because some players don't view their slump as a big deal. Edwin Diaz did the Mets a solid when he came out and said, after blowing another huge lead, they brought him in, not even in a save situation, up 4 against the Marlins. He immediately gave up 4 in the 9th. That was it. Marlins are one of the worst hitting teams in the game. It's the perfect situation. Absolutely agree with the Mets putting him in a non-save situation there in the 9th inning. Let him get through it, win the game, not get the save, but build the confidence, and he ends up blowing it. He's got close to an 11 ERA in his past 8 appearances. But he came out, and when asked about his situation, he said, I'm open to everything. I want to help my team win. That's my main thing. If they want to talk to me about that and I feel good about it, I agree on it. I just want to win games in any position they put me. I won't lie. My confidence is down right now. So the thing about a player and the fact that they feel physically good, and he said physically he feels 100%. He came out to start the season with an ERA under 1 in his first 10 appearances, and now his ERA is close to 11 in his last 8. The question is, what do? With a quote like that, you immediately walk over to him and you tell him that he will no longer be put in save situations, and the Mets have done just that. The Mets, who have no particular They're not really going anywhere this season, though they're competing for an NL wild card because God bless baseball. You can be under 500 and be in the race. Ain't no selling. You can't sell below 500. I mean, we're only in the middle of May. We're definitely in the early of the mid part of the season. Very early mid. Really, really early mid. How long will Diaz not be closer? Here's how this conversation goes. We're paying this guy a lot of money. We're going to close by committee, which just means that we will tell you before each game who's got the ball in the ninth inning. That's what we're telling our manager. We're going to have Diaz pitch in the sixth inning. We're going to have him do that 3 times. 6th, 7th inning, 3 times. The minute they're clean, then we put him in 8, 9 with a lead, not a save situation. We want 4 appearances, only 4. After that, he's closing. I am not having a $15 million middle inning relief guy. Not doing it. I'd rather designate him than suffer the ignominy of having him pitch in non-leverage middle relief situations. I'm also talking to him and his agent because I want to know whether or not he's telling the truth about how he physically feels. Because then, if he is physically 100%, I'm then getting him the team psychologist. Because I want to make sure that we are working on his head if we don't need to work on his body. But this is something that teams deal with when highly paid, underperforming players are on your team. And you've got a baseball operations department who doesn't want to look bad. You have an owner who doesn't want to look silly and meddling. So you go through this checklist of what to do. That's where the Mets are with Diaz. The last thing that happened this weekend that I want to make sure you're focusing on is when the Pirates are playing and they're pitching any of their 2 young starters, but mostly Paul Skenes. He came out and started 2 and threw 6 no-hit innings, struck out 11. It was his 2nd career start. So many great pitchers that Rookie of the Year is likely to be a pitcher in the National League, as it should be. And the question is this real or is it not? Because I saw over the weekend, after the start, people being insane about Skenes. This is the best pitcher of all time. Total hyperbole. I love his start, and I'm not going to yuck on it. However, let's just take a minute. His stuff, way above average. When you're throwing 101, 102, when you have a splitter and a slider that is so nasty, made nastier by the fact that you're looking for 102 and you've got to start swinging early on 102 and then you see the spin and you look like a fool. There is a period of time where the hitting coaches, the offensive analytic teams of your team, they've scouted the minor league players. You get reports on minor league pitchers when you are starting, but it's way different once they're at the big league level. You get way more detailed in your approach and in what your reports are saying about that pitcher. Eventually, the league will catch up with you. Could Skenes be the guy? Could he be the greatest pitcher of all time? Maybe. But I think there's a better chance that he will get caught up to. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to review a documentary I watched about the Yankees. I can't wait to tell you about it. Joel Sherman, you're going to hear your name. And then we're going to talk about what's going on in Vegas, because what happened in Vegas is not staying in Vegas. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Happy Monday, everybody. So much happened over the weekend. Thanks for being a part of our daily routine, 8 a.m. live on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the conversation. DraftKings Network, 10 a.m. Oh, Coca. We didn't talk about this weekend. I don't think we're doing a DraftKings Network show on Monday, Memorial Day. Apparently, people take days off. It's just not us. I watched a bunch of movies this weekend. I had one of those weekends. There was a lot of sports going on, but I still wanted to watch content. So basically, I watched it late at night. I started watching the new Peacock. What's that expression? Is it peacocking when you raise your wings? Or I don't know what that means. Someone told me that once. Hey, you're peacocking. I assumed that was pejorative. I just didn't know exactly what it was. Peacock is a streaming service. There's a new series called Bronx Zoo 1990. Crimes, Chaos, and Baseball. It's based on articles written by John Sherman. You may have read him. Fantastic. Always worth reading. It's a documentary about the 1990 team, Yankees team. Now, that may be before 29.6% of you were born, which is okay. It's still worth watching. My former manager, Don Mattingly, is a big part of this. Pascual Perez, former Expo, big part of it. Brian Cashman was an intern for that team. John Heyman was a beat reporter for that team. So was John Sherman. Who's John Sherman? What did I mean? Joel Sherman. God dang it. All right, we'll do it again. I think John Sherman is the owner of a team. 8-40-69. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson coming to you every day at 8 a.m. We're going to review a series called Bronx Zoo 1990 based on articles by Joel Sherman, not the owner of the Royals, John Sherman. The 1990 Yankees were terrible. Jeff Idelson, former head of the Hall of Fame, was the media relations guy for the Yankees. That was the year George Steinbrenner. You think that our owner was meddling or that your owner's meddling? People may not remember what George Steinbrenner was like. Watch this documentary. That really was George. Every part of that. I was growing up in New York in 1990. I was finishing college, but still New York was my life, the center of my universe. The Yankees were my number 3 team behind the Knicks and Giants. But everyone in New York knew what was going on with the Yankees and with Steinbrenner. Everyone knew what was going on with Don Mattingly, Dave Winfield, everyone. It's only a 3-parter, and it's riveting. So congratulations, Joe. Congratulations to everyone who got interviewed. It's funny to see the players now, who got interviewed, who didn't. Mattingly is there. It was so good to see Skipper. It's worth checking out. It's called Bronx Zoo 90. It's on Peacock. Listen, you're getting the streaming service anyway. You're watching NFL. You have every streaming service now, don't you? Check it out. Let's talk about Vegas. Let's talk about the WNBA. Again, we're doing it. We're giving the WNBA more allocation. Why? A lot of great stories. When you are what day did we do the show where we talked about Major League Soccer and what Jorge Mas is doing in Miami and how teams are circumventing the cap in Major League Soccer? It's creating major problems. I don't know what day we did it, but it was sometime last week. This weekend, an article came out that the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the same guys who are telling you what a fait accompli it is that a deal is being done and a stadium is being built in Vegas for the A's. Don't worry about the conflict of interest that he's on the payroll. Don't be ridiculous. He announced that they have made a deal. Every player on the Las Vegas Aces, the 2-time defending champions in the WNBA, a team that is way better than the Indiana Fever, every one of those players is getting $100,000. The Visitors Authority decided we're going to take $1.2 million We're going to give $100,000 to all 12 players, and we're going to ask them to say Viva Las Vegas, go to the sign and take some photos, put on some glasses, tell everyone how great Vegas is for families and sports. And in return, we'll give you $100,000. You may not have heard of the 12th player on the roster or the 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, or 6th, but they're all worth the same to the Vegas Authority, because when they're doing commercials on their own, you're going to listen when it says WNBA player. And if you think this is me talking about women's sports, no. You think, what's the name of the guy? Give me a 12th man who only plays in blowouts on a Knicks team or on any team. You think that they deserve the same amount of sponsorship dollars as Brunson? Or you think on the Nuggets that Jokic deserves the same as the 12th man? Of course not. What is it about this Aces deal that doesn't smell right? The team came out immediately and said, we have nothing to do with this. We had no idea. We found out about it the way you did, with this announcement by the Convention Visitors Authority of Vegas. Horse hockey. If that's true, you should all get fired. Every single one of them. David, you're being unrealistic. No, you don't know. I know. We know when our players are doing deals, and that's Major League Baseball. We get told and asked to use our trademarks. Can they wear the Marlins uniform? Are we getting paid? Nope. Why do you think you see players who are wearing uniforms that look like the home team uniform, but they're not the home team uniform? Because they didn't want to pay the home team to wear the home team uniform. They didn't want to do a licensing deal with either Major League Baseball or the specific team. There's not one sponsorship deal that a player of ours did that I did not know about. It doesn't mean I got paid. It doesn't mean I was paying. It's the players doing it. But we know what our players are doing. Oh, we had no idea. And if there were something where all of our players were approached and given money, you think that that's something the front office wouldn't know? It's such ridiculousness that I can't stand it that they couldn't come up with a better lie. Who are your advisors? Did you hear that, Coca? I just dropped something. I like playing with a pen. I was playing with my earpiece during the course of the show. I don't know why I do that. Maybe just a bad habit. All right, I got it back. 12 players, $100,000 each. And you wonder why the WNBA is investigating the Las Vegas Aces? Because that is salary cap circumvention. It's as clear as the day following the night. I'm happy that the women are getting more money. That's great. But it's a violation of the rule. Here's a better way to do it. If you're trying to really get around the salary cap by using NIL, I'm fine. I'm really fine. We spent half our day trying to get around rules. So do you. Have you ever met an accountant? That's what they do. Everybody spends their day looking at the rules and trying to get around them. For Christ's sake, we've got departments in the NFL and in the NBA who their whole job is to get around the salary cap. I get it. But don't be stupid about it. Get $1.2 million for the Visitors Authority and then give $800,000 of it to your best player, Davis. And then give the worst player like $2,500. Don't allocate it equally to everyone. You look like a moron. Then they came up with the plan that when we are questioned on whether this is salary cap circumvention, we have the answer. Hey, we've got tons of influencers. This makes perfect sense that we would pay the 12th person on the Aces to be a social media influencer for our community. We'll be happy to testify, Kathy, commissioner of the WNBA. We'll be happy to testify that the team had nothing to do with this. So, of course, the WNBA is investigating. And, of course, Alicia Clark tweeted, "Can we investigate Kathy and her decisions on who's allowed to charter and who isn't?" The coach of the Aces, not exactly above scrutiny. I'm going to put it to you real simple like this. Most of the sponsorship people go after the top two people. Wilson's taken care of. She's got plenty of stuff going on. Plum has plenty of stuff. In this situation, is they wanted the whole team, so they went and called individual agents. I don't know the details. I have nothing to do with it. The Aces have nothing to do with it. It's odd, but that's basically what happened. All right, Samson and Coca have some advice when you hire us to have explained to the public and to the investigators for the WNBA what happened. We're not going to say that it's odd. We're never going to say that. We're not going to say, I'm going to put it to you real simple, because don't talk to me like I'm a child. What we're going to say is that, of course, we were approached about this deal. We wanted to do something, and we asked the sponsor to care as much about the 12th woman as the first. We are always trying to promote everyone in our team. And that sponsor made the decision to agree with our position. That's your best shot. And then you're still going to lose. The Aces are going to get caught here, because in reality, they did do salary cap circumvention. You cannot have a league with a salary cap where you're getting players money in different ways, because then why have a salary cap? And then you're just talking about the deep pockets of the owner, the connections of the owner, the difference in the cities where the teams are. And the purpose of the salary cap is equality, egalitarianism. You want one team to have as good a chance as the other team. There's going to be way more on this story. Nothing personal pick of the day. We are 66 and 77. We had a tough Friday. We had the Bruins plus 124 forcing a game 7 against the Panthers. The Panthers won the series. The Panthers and the Rangers are playing in the Eastern Conference Finals of the NHL. I do have a quick correction. I want to encourage everybody, please, when I make mistakes, it is perfectly reasonable and fine for you to correct me, because I will make mistakes. Or when I don't know something, teach it to me. I didn't know what a natural hat trick was, and I tried to explain it on Friday's show after the Rangers players scored a natural hat trick to eliminate, I'm totally blanking on who, the Hurricanes. A natural hat trick is when a player scores 3 consecutive goals in a row with no player on either team scoring in between. I didn't know that, and now you know it. We had the Braves beating the Padres on Friday. Didn't happen. We had the Thunder winning the title on Saturday. Didn't happen. So that's why we're 66 and 77. There were only 2 picks of the day Friday, but I'm taking a third loss because we did have a pick of the day that the Thunder would win the title. We were going to get plus 850, which would have been amazing, but now we don't. Where am I looking today? I'm looking at the Marlins are underdogs against the Brewers. Marlins are plus 114. If you haven't watched Weathers pitch for the Brewers, check him out. You've never heard of him, but he's damn good. I wanted to just mention the Marlins because things keep happening that indicate to me that Skip Schumacher has to be fired. Clearly, he's going to leave the Marlins at the end of this year. Clearly, he's going to become a candidate to manage the Cardinals if that deal has not already been cut, because the Cardinals are going to part ways with Marmol, because the Cardinals are not going to win the division as I projected, because the Cardinals stink. Much more about that June 25th in St. Louis, when Nothing Personal Live comes to St. Louis. I promise you we will be discussing it. But Schumacher took to the media after the game and for whatever reason decided to MF his starting pitcher, Sixto Sanchez, explaining to him that his first inning woes are unacceptable. You can't put your teammates in a bind like that. We can't play from behind. We're not doing it. Did the front office, did Peter Bendix of the Marlins, the new GM, say to Schumacher that this would be a good time to call out Sanchez? We would call out pitchers who had first inning issues. Maybe never. We would try things, have them pitch a first inning in the bullpen. We had plenty of pitchers with first inning issues. It's not new, Skip. You're just realizing. Have you looked at how to get really good pitchers? You get them early, because if you don't get them early, you're never going to get them. Totally anecdotally, with not one bit of analytic proof. Pitchers' ERAs in the first inning, the best starting pitchers, is the worst inning that they have. Totally, I'm making that up. But I think I'm right. 18 years tells me I'm right. Is Schumacher motivating his team? Their team is out of it. They're done. They're sellers. Is he angry with Sanchez? Then demote him or trade him. But I don't want the manager calling out my players publicly like that without a reason. And the reason, you're motivating a team to play up to its potential. You're motivating a pitcher to play up to his potential. You're motivating a pitcher to pitch better because you want to move him. That's not motivating the players. When they see, even if they don't speak the language, when they see that their manager is purposefully calling them out, it leads to anger, frustration. It leads to dissension in the clubhouse. I couldn't have been more upset about that. Although it's going to make my wait to see's right. That is our pick of the day. Marlins plus 114 over the Brewers. All right, in the last 3 minutes, I want to go back to the NBA. And I want to mention two other things that I didn't have an opportunity to talk to when we started the show. I don't want there to be a misunderstanding. The New York Knicks were supposed to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not that it's scripted. When Adam Silver or when the head of officials, when you're talking about the game, when you're making your assignments for the game, the credibility is always more important. Always. There will be storylines about the Pacers that'll be fine. It will not be as highly rated as Knicks Celtics. The broadcasters who Silver is negotiating with would have preferred the Knicks. But Silver gets to say the Knicks are starting their role. They're going to be relevant now the entire life of your new deal, the entire 8 years of your new package. So there are business ways to deal with the Knicks losing. But the feeling that you have leaving the Garden when what you were so sure is going to happen doesn't happen, and then the season just ends, it is a staggering thing. And it made me realize all of the years, and 17 of my years, I had a season end. Sometimes it ends on a win. If you don't make the playoffs, you win your last game. Sometimes it ends on a loss. If you make the playoffs, it ends on a loss for everybody but one team. The speed in which you get past that, that's what differentiates good teams from bad teams and good front offices from bad front offices. Leon Rose and the Knicks need to be getting to work today. You don't take a day. You don't revigorate yourself. You start. The New York Knicks need to start. They need to get better. They need to figure out how to get better players around Brunson. And they're going to start. And the Knicks are going to be relevant. And they are going to be the center of the NBA universe under all of these broadcast deals. And the reason why I'm so positive about that is that watching it happen, you realize that no matter what, it's just business. See you next year, New York. This is nothing personal.